everyone, welcome back to my channel. This week it's the 9th of February and that means it's 6 years since I first saw Wicked the Musical in the West End, and I thought to kind of celebrate this I would put up a few Wicked related videos, and I thought for one of them it would be quite nice to do a Q&A because I've not done a Q&A in a while and I've never done a specific Wicked Q&A. So I thought it might be nice to answer some of your questions. The first one on my list comes from my friend Gemma, and she's asking, what are your thoughts and expectations for the Wicked film adaptation? I have a lot of thoughts on this, like the Wicked film, because it feels like once every few months the faux confirmation of it coming out, it appears back on social media and everyone gets excited again, and I'm not getting excited until like the official Wicked accounts say that it's happening, until it's like got its own website and things like that. That's when I'll get excited. Until then, I'm not excited. But yes, I would like to do a complete video on its own about the film because I have too many thoughts to say in a Q&A. So sorry to disappoint you for now, Gemma, but I will make a full video, I promise. Grace is asking, tour versus Broadway versus West End. Good question. I think obviously the West End production is the one I've seen the most, so I love it a lot. It's very familiar, it kind of feels like home whenever I go in, but I do really enjoy the little tweaks that they have for the tour production, and obviously I really enjoy some of the stuff that's in the Broadway production that we don't have in the West End production. So it's kind of hard. I think if I could obviously merge them all together, if I could have the setup of the Gershwin Theatre and the stuff that they have there, plus the little tweaks on tour, plus just in general the British accents, or like shove it all into the Apollo Victoria Theatre, I would love that. But I think I'd probably have to say Wicked in London overall in the Apollo Victoria Theatre would probably have to be my favourite. Charlotte is asking, what are my top tips for day seating at Wicked? For day seating in general, I always recommend that you check out the website Theatre Monkey, because there's a whole section on day seating and people send in reports of when they've recently day sat, got to the theatre, how many people were in the queue before them, and if they've been able to ask, you know, what time the first person got there, what seats they managed to get. That is just, it's such a good resource for that. At Wicked, it's quite lucky that you're under shelter, unless if it's raining and it's coming in at a weird angle, but most of the time if you can sit on the steps then you're in cover, but it does get quite cold, especially obviously in the winter months. So yeah, make sure you wrap up warm. Maybe if you are able to, take a thin cushion or something, because if you're able to sit down, that's great, because you know you don't want to just stand for a few hours or whatever in a queue, but it's not very comfortable to just sit on. So if you can take a thin cushion or grab some newspapers or something to sit on, it'll be slightly comfier for you. But yeah, apart from that, I just recommend checking on Theatre Monkey, and obviously just kind of have a bit of common sense about it. If you know it's like a normal weekday, it's probably not going to be too busy, so you don't need to get there at 6 o'clock. But if it's like the school holidays, then it's usually a little bit busier. If it's a Saturday, it's generally busier, and obviously if it's the summer holidays where it's then warm as well, it'll definitely be busier. So you've just kind of got to think, right, what time of year is it? Is it a school holiday? Is it a special event? I don't know. You just gotta think about it. Erin is asking, who is your least favourite Wicked character? And they said that theirs is Bok. I kind of agree. Bok's been really annoying me recently. I feel like out of the whole story, it's probably either Bok or Nessa Rose, and then probably the wizard as well. It depends really, it does change a lot, but yeah, most recently it's been Bok, and then I think previous to that it was Nessa. But I used to quite like Nessa Rose as a character, thinking back on it, so it's quite funny that I now really don't like the character. And then Erin has also asked, if you could kill one Wicked character, which would it be? Savage. I mean, it's annoying because obviously they are all detrimental to the story, so if you kill one of them, you know, some bits might not make sense. Maybe Fiyero, because I feel like if you were gonna kill any of them, and it wouldn't affect the story too much. I feel like, I know he's pretty important in terms of the whole love triangle thing and everything. I don't know, I feel like if I'm thinking about it logistically, Fiyero would probably be the character I'd kill. Nessa dies anyway, so that's sorted. Sorry if that's a spoiler for anyone. And yeah, I would probably agree on Bok as well. But logistically, Fiyero is probably the one you could get rid of and it wouldn't affect the story like hugely. Jacob is asking, how does the New York Wicked atmosphere compare to London? I'd say that the American audience, as far as like I've experienced it, has been a lot more excited. But that's just kind of a general thing before most of the shows. Like there'll be clapping at the start of shows, whereas that doesn't always happen in London. And they appreciate Glinda's humour a lot more than the London audiences, I think. There are certain lines that definitely work more over there rather than they do here, which is really funny to me, obviously being a Brit in the Broadway audience and hearing how the audience reacts when I'm so used to the audience reacting in different ways. So yes, the atmosphere is definitely a lot more excited at the start, but obviously this depends performance to performance. I don't think I can outright say that the American audiences are always more excited. I think there's more of a palpable vibe like before the show. One thing that really annoyed me on this previous trip to New York and Broadway shows is that the American audiences really love to cheer when a performer hasn't finished like their note. So for example, the end of Defying Gravity, the end of The Wizard and I, and you know, there'd be like little riffs and things happening. I was like, oh great, I can't hear those because you're cheering them. And I get it, you're appreciative of what they're doing, but at the same time, you can't hear what's going on because you're cheering. It's one thing that I hate about like cast change audiences. They do something different and it's amazing, don't get me wrong, but because you're cheering, I now can't hear what is happening. So that's annoying to me. They're a bit too over enthusiastic at some points, whereas I feel like the British audiences do kind of hold back a lot more and then just clap once the song is finished, which is how it should be. Callum is asking, which song from Wicked can you relate to the most, and if you were to change anything about Wicked, what would it be and why? Callum's also said, also your theatre vlogs are awesome, so thank you for making them. Thank you for enjoying them. What song from Wicked can I relate to the most? I mean, probably Defying Gravity in terms of the lyrics, but The Wizard and I is probably my favourite song from the show, I would say. But yeah, the lyrics from Defying Gravity are great, so I think that one probably wins. And then if I could change anything about the show, it's a good question. In terms of how the show is done, as I mentioned earlier, there are some bits that they do in the tour production that I would love them to add into London. So that's I don't want to spoil anything in case anyone's not yet seen the tour production. They just have some extra bits in some of the scenes. They don't obviously change anything to do with the story or really the staging, but there's just some additional bits that don't happen in the London production that I would like for them to add. Nothing is screaming at me to change, so I guess I'm pretty happy as it is. Robert is asking, if you had the option to pay £35 for a top non-premium seat, would you go for the stalls or the circle, or would you look at the cheaper seats? I mean, £30 is like my happy maximum for tickets, so that's good, £35 for a top non-premium. So I'd probably go for the stalls because you can get some seats that are like just after the front row that are not the premium prices, but they're just before the premium seats. So there's some seats before and after the premium seats. So I'd either go for there, but also I would love to sit front row of the dress circle, and I don't think that's technically premium seats because you've got the safety rail there. So I'd probably go for either the first row of the dress circle, right in the middle, because I would love to see the show from there. Honestly, the amount of times I've seen it, I'm shocked that I haven't seen it from there. Or alternatively, yeah, go for the front middle section of the stalls just before the premium seats. If you're giving me £35 as an option, I mean, the cheaper seats to the sides aren't that much cheaper nowadays. So Yeah, I'd happily pay that. My friend Laura has asked me, what is my favourite Wicked scene and who is my favourite Wicked fangirl? Laura, obviously you are my favourite Wicked fangirl. And my favourite Wicked scene, I have a lot of like favourite little moments of the show, not necessarily like full scenes, but like tiny moments. One of them is in Dancing Through Life when Glinda takes Elphaba's hand and then they like run into the crowd together. Because I'm like, oh, Elphaba has a friend. I just think that's really cute. As well, when everything lights up for one short day, especially when you're sat a bit further back and then the full impact of all the lights is like, whoa. I think that is amazing. Yeah, I'd say those are two of my favourite moments. I obviously Defy Gravity. Like, if I'm gonna say a scene overall, like the actual song part of Defying Gravity, Ops. I feel like this is a nice one to finish it off on. Kaylin's asking, what was your favourite performance out of the many times you've seen Wicked? I think that's a nice one to end it. So obviously I've seen Wicked quite a few times, and by quite a few that is the biggest understatement ever. I've seen a lot of different casts performing. I've seen a lot of different pairings of Elphaba and Glindas. I've seen a lot of different like Fieros and Marbles and Wizards and Nessas and Box, you name it. I've seen quite a few of them. So it's really hard for me to pinpoint like one specific performance that is a favourite one. One show that springs to mind very quickly is Rachel Tucker's actual last show as Elphaba. Obviously she'd left the production before, and that year was the first year that I fell in love with the show. I fell in love with her as Elphaba, and I was crazy on that first cast change. I was a full-on mess, and it's quite embarrassing to look back on, if I'm honest. I'm glad that I've grown up from that, but the second time seeing her leave, so much has changed in my life between then and now, and that performance. Oh, this sounds so ridiculous, but Wicked has been there, you know? Wicked has been such a constant thing in the last 6 years of my life, and to watch Rachel in her last show and just feel all of these things, like the first time I saw the show, and then all those performances leading up to her leaving the cast the first time, and then to see her again, to see her be the 10th anniversary Elphaba, and then to see her in that last show, it brought a lot of feelings forward, but I was okay. And I mean, this literally sounds ridiculous, but it felt quite therapeutic to feel like comparing that first cast change and then that cast change, and how much I've grown in the last 6 years. Like, a lot of stuff happened to me, and I could easily like not be here, to be perfectly honest. And yeah, to just kind of reflect on all of it and think, I'm doing okay. Life is good. I have to be grateful for that. That got deep, but that's how I felt watching that show and feeling okay and not having a breakdown over someone leaving a musical, because there are many more worse things in life to happen, trust me, I know. And yeah, that was a very special show to be at. And then obviously the 10th anniversary performance was incredible. Those are absolutely like top two for me. And then, I mean, I guess probably the third would either be seeing the show for the first time, or maybe seeing it on Broadway for the first time. That was very exciting. I mean, there's a common theme here, isn't there? It's Rachel bloody Tucker. It's kind of crazy actually to say that out loud, how important this show has been to me. And sometimes I get a lot of mickey taking about how much I love this show, but when I think about it and how much it's got me through some really kind of dark times in my life, not necessarily just the show itself, but the people that I've come to become best friends with because of this show, and how they propped me up in some of the darkest times of my life, and how I wouldn't have known these people if it weren't for Wicked, how I wouldn't be in Theatreland if it wasn't for Wicked. Like truly, if I hadn't seen Wicked, I wouldn't be doing this right now. I wouldn't be talking to this camera about theatre. I wouldn't have had the many amazing experiences that I've had. It would be a whole other life. And that's crazy. So crazy to think about. And yeah, I'll take the mick out of this show, I'll take the mick out of the story or whatever the characters, but you just know deep down that I truly, obviously love it, and I am very grateful. I'm gonna end this Q&A now before I burst into tears. Sorry to those of you who asked me questions about the film. I'll obviously be making a full video about that, so if you have any more questions that you want to ask about that, leave them in the comments below and I will discuss them when I make that video. It'll probably be like in a couple of months, you know, to spread the Wicked videos out a little bit. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you didn't get the chance to answer me a question, or if I maybe missed it in this video, just let me know in the comments and I will answer it for you. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you aren't already and you'd like to see more of me in the future. I hope you're all doing really well and I will see you very soon. Bye!